Okay, so when we talk about compassion, like the compassion that is being developed here is not this emotional compassion where we suffer with the other person, but a compassion that sees the suffering, and then if you can do something, you would, and if you can't, then you can still keep your heart open, and that's kind of difficult. So here is maybe when I read it, I thought, yeah, this is a very good explanation why we are making these groups, friend, enemy, and stranger. So the chapter is called Evolutionary Roots of Unreal Others. Our deep conditioning to perceive unreal others. So unreal others are all the strangers, but also all the enemies. Yeah, they're not real. When you walk through the streets, or when you are, well, now there's not so many people anymore, but kind of all the people around you, if you don't have anything to do with them, they become somehow unreal. Unreal in the sense of, we're not interested in them, we don't see their pain, they're happy, yeah, they're unhappy, yeah, what to do. It's like lumps of flesh kind of, being in our way. Most of the time, they are just in our way, especially when there's a lot of people and we go like, what are they all doing here? And when they're getting on our nerves. So this is, our mind then makes them somehow unreal. So to perceive unreal others emerged in service of survival. Yeah. For millions of years, our earliest ancestors lived in small, isolated groups where familiarity meant safety and any stranger was a potential threat. Yesterday, Michal, we talked about this instinct, yeah? These groups called themselves the people or humans. Other groups were less than human, enemies to be hated and or to be feared. And because the people were different and superior, they did not hesitate to attack and violate other groups. If they are not human, we can hurt them, steal from them, enslave them, kill them. Then about 70,000 years ago, humans entered a cognitive revolution marked by a dramatic leap in language, communication, and collaboration. So internally, this correlated with a radical spurt in brain development, culminating in the capacities of the prefrontal cortex for mindfulness and reason, empathy and compassion, and calming and regulating the reactions of our survival brain. As the cognitive revolution spurred the growth of communication amongst human societies, it created a crucial evolutionary trajectory, our unfolding toward an interdependent global community. And yet, in the most primitive parts of our brain, the unreal other persists, now working against our survival and ensnaring us in a regressive and toxic trance. It fuels institutionalized racism, classism, the oppression of refugees and other marginalized humans, unimaginable cruelty to non-humans like animals. It creates war and the mindless destruction of our Earth ecosystem. Yet even as our ancient survival brain perpetuates the trance of unreal other, our evolved prefrontal cortex gives us the tools to undo it, both as individuals and as a society. We have the capacity to recognize the biases that have kept us below the line. Once they are conscious, we become more able to respond from an awake and inclusive heart. So we consciously can bring this up, recognize it, and then it can transform. Okay? So we do a reflection, so you can sit with a straight back comfortably. Somehow awake and, as we said before, being present. being aware. You know, why we suffer is because of lack of awareness. We don't see how dependent we are on others. We don't see that our mind projects. We don't see that we are living in fantasy, kind of, in a fantasy world, thinking that I am the center of the universe. And we're definitely not aware how negative emotions create suffering now and create causes of suffering for the future. And we're not aware how reality really exists. This we do this afternoon, working with this lacking awareness. That's why we suffer. So that's why practices of mindfulness and awareness, already that brings you so much more peace, so much more space, because it connects you with reality. And our heart can only awaken when there is awareness and mindfulness. It doesn't awaken in the head. It awakens in the chest, in the heart. Okay, so implicit bias, meaning bias that we don't see, is the scientific term for the unconscious or semi-conscious way we stereotype individuals or groups, depending on our social conditioning. Now, please consider the following reflection as an opportunity for self-understanding, not as a fuel for guilt or self-judgment. So whatever you see, promise to yourself you're going to be kind and understanding with yourself, that not to be shocked at what you see, that you might see, but to be happy that you saw it. And also to see that we are conditioned. You know, we don't understand actually how conditioned we are. We think we are ourselves, but we're not. So many habits, so many tendencies are just learned. And by seeing the conditioning that is hindering us to live a life full of joy, with an open heart, full of wisdom, by seeing the conditioning, we can unlock our potential for universal love, compassion, and wisdom. Only then. So now bring to mind the following groups of people. People that are of a different race from yours. Don't manipulate anything, just bring them to mind. And with one corner of the mind, you can watch what is happening. You will feel it in your chest or in your stomach. You know, nothing is happening, don't produce anything. Just think, you know, people from a different race. And just observe what is happening in terms of sensations, thoughts, images, just to recognize, and we already make the second step, to allow. Now bring to mind different ethnic groups or nationality. Again, don't think too hard. Yeah, just whatever pops up. Who is that? Different ethnic group or nationality. Different religion. Different sexual orientation. different gender identity, different ability or disability, different social class, and now in your case, what's happening at the moment, different political view. If possible, consider a few individuals you know from each group. Then as you do, honestly notice any subtle judgments that emerge. Are they less or more intelligent, ethical, attractive, loving, spiritual, or capable than yourself? Again, don't manipulate anything. Allow to arise whatever wants to arise. The first thing we see, the very natural comparing, that if we're not aware of it in daily life, but maybe now. Do I see them as better, worse, or same? You don't have to take all the groups, just take a few people that you know, especially something that will be very strong at the moment, somebody with different political views or different race or religion. I compare myself with them automatically. Now comparing, on a conventional level, there might be some reasons to compare, but it's always a source for suffering. Because when we compare, we feel better, then we get arrogant. When we think that we are the same, we start to compete. When we think that we are, that they are better than us, we start to be jealous, trying to kind of destroy their good reputation or something like that. As I'm saying, don't push anything away. Might be painful what you are seeing, but we have to recognize it. And just allow it to be there, whatever comes up. Then imagine that your child or someone else close to you, somebody that you really like, you really love, has started dating someone from these groups. And then notice your reactions in your body, because they may be more noticeable than a mental expression of bias. So you see, as long as we don't have anything to do with them, then we think, no, I'm not biased, I'm not racist. If you have children, imagine your son or your daughter coming home with somebody from another group. Again, don't judge, just look. Then as you review, also note the following. Are you inclined to blame the group for in some way being bad or wrong or causing harm? And you're already blaming that person, just it belongs to that group, same skin color, same religion than the group, same political view. So those are just superficial differences, but we make them very solid and very concrete. So now we try to see the sameness. What do we have in common with this person of different political view or different religion or different gender identity or sexual orientation or whatever? Your ego mind will say, when it's very strong, when we make the group totally opposite, what does the ego mind say? Again, allow it to be there, allow it to say it. Nothing I have in common with that person. Don't listen to the voice. Look further. What do we have in common? I'm not going to say what you have in common with the person. I would like you to find it yourself and then see what happens in your attitude towards the person, even if they are dating your son or your daughter, or maybe your mother or your father. Try to find what we have in common. So we can just have one very simple thought, what we have in common. I want to be happy and I don't want to suffer. And they want to be happy and they don't want to suffer. I myself don't really know Or maybe I know what brings happiness, but I myself, I'm not really capable of creating only causes for happiness, even though I want happiness, and so are they. My mind is confused, their mind is confused. And both of us think that we are right. This is another thing we have in common. I think I'm right, they think they're right. So we try to open up our heart, not for, if it's political views and it's very opposite, not for what they're doing, not for their views, but for their, the common humanity that we have. Both of us suffer. Both of us are confused, insecure, cannot live the potential that we have. So for me and for this other person, or if there's a few others, it's okay. We think, may we all be safe. May me and these other people be protected from physical and mental harm. May me and these other people be free from fear, healthy, strong, loving, and peaceful. And may me and these other people be able to live their lives with joy and ease, without having to harm anybody, that they have joy and ease. Me and them. Okay. Did you notice something? Did something change when all of a sudden your son or your daughter comes home with somebody from this other group? Or were you totally open and unbiased? You can put it in the chat if you want. You don't have to say if you don't want to say. If you want to share, you're very welcome to do so. Yes, Iris.
First, it's become worse.
What?
The hunger, the
Yeah.
heat, and after that, I think about everyone want to be happy.
Yeah.
So it's better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like this will save the world when we start to see how much we have in common, because otherwise it will always be me and them, and then it's like it's big thing. Did anybody? Well, of course, you're Israeli, so I guess you took the strongest group, isn't it? Where it's really us and them,
Yes.
which is the political views. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I should have left it out, actually, because that's so obvious, that we feel so justified to be against them. So you can be against the views, but not against the person. Yeah. So this is not hidden bias with the political group, in Israel at the moment. This is very apparent, isn't it? It was hard for me to accept people who don't care. Yeah, exactly. Maybe you took the, you took the most strongest one. Maybe I should have left out some groups.
May I say something?
Yeah, maybe I just read what Zohar is saying. It was hard for me to accept people who don't care about others from all groups, even my friends and family. Yeah. Okay. Mhm. This is also, we can even throw out of our heart people that in general are close to us. But it's more to see that we think we are not biased, we think we're totally open. And then deep down we see, oh, maybe not so much. Yeah. Now again, when we say we are accepting everybody. In Buddhism, there is no such thing as bad people. But there is definitely a lot of bad. I usually don't use the word bad, but there's definitely a lot of unskillful actions. So we're not going against the people themselves, because everybody has the potential to be happy. Everybody has the potential to be good. But if we make action and person one packet, this won't work. Definitely bodhicitta won't work. If we say, okay, I'll be the Buddha for only the people that are good. Now when we say accept people who don't care about others, do you think people who don't care about others are happy? Where is Sohar? Can I see you somewhere? Maybe not. Are you have your camera open? Okay, you're waving. So do you think people are happy? People who don't care about others? No, exactly. So then why be angry at them? They're already unhappy. We don't need to add to their unhappiness by being angry at them. And we definitely don't change them by not accepting them and being angry at them. But again, I have to repeat it again and again and again. It doesn't mean we condone their action, but we care about the person. Now, again, if you change it into, if that person who doesn't care about others is my son or my daughter, how would I feel towards them? Would I feel the same rejection? Or would I feel a little bit more warm-hearted and seeing their suffering of not caring for others? And the less they care for others, the more self-concerned they will become, the more difficult it will be for us to accept them and to love them and to respect them, and the more they will suffer. This is how it works with the self-cherishing. We want to develop compassion towards, Hagar is saying, we want to develop compassion towards those who are still in the ignorance, they are in delusion, and leading them to wisdom through setting an example. Yeah. Okay, you see, if we understand, it's good what you're saying, Hagar, who are confused, still in their ignorance. When somebody kind of hurts us and says something that is really hurtful for us because they didn't know maybe that, I don't know, we just got divorced or just lost a job or just discovered that we had cancer, and they make a joke about, going in that direction, and we feel really hurt. And we, make the story, oh, they don't care about me and all this. And then they hear about what has happened in our lives and they come and say, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know. What happens to your anger? What happens to your anger?
It fades away.
It goes away immediately. The same way as we are confused, and we will see the confusion this afternoon when we'll talk about reality. And the same way others are confused. We all want to be happy. We'll be totally confused about what brings happiness and what brings suffering. And it is as if we're chasing away happiness and we're running after suffering. I think Leora said at one point, may I say something? Was it you, Leora Kenneth? Or who was it?
It was me, but it's okay. It's been said. Thank you.
Why? You can say what you had to say. You can confirm or you can not confirm.
I thought at the beginning it was very difficult to feel the same empathy to the rich and famous versus refugees, corrupted people versus moral people, settlers versus Palestinians. Then you brought up my own child, in my case, nephew, and I immediately felt closeness and love to him, whatever groups he becomes or he joins. And I thought that it's good to know that we have to enlarge the feeling, to feel the closeness and spaciousness towards them. This is my job. It's a tough job, but it's doable. And it was thank you very much for the meditation. I felt good. One thing that can help me to do it is to keep close to the Sangha members in order to keep in mind all the time this line of thinking, because it's not typical.
Listen to His Holiness again and again and again and again. You know, he's such an inspiration for us. Thank you, Leora, by the way. Thank you very much. And because if we don't see this bias, you know, then even smaller biases. So you, of course, you're Israeli, so you always take the biggest challenge. But it's good also see this very small bias that we think we don't have. I tell you, honestly, I was convinced I was not racist. You know, because the doctor also, she's from Sri Lanka. So, ooh, you know, but then I go there and she speaks perfect Swiss German. She was born in Switzerland. But you see what we have, like my ex-boyfriend, he married a woman of, I don't know how to say politically. She is half, like her mom is Irish and her dad is from Nigeria. So she's a little bit dark colored. And also her two sons, one is when he was younger, now they're totally white all of a sudden. But when he was younger, he was darker. He has a Swiss dad. He's born in Switzerland. And then people ask him, where are you from? And he says, I'm Swiss. And then they go, yeah, but where are you really from? I mean, come on. He's never been to Africa. And he's, well, he's grown up, so he goes traveling. But it's like, this is how we are. So we can, probably most of us are not like this. We're not asking these stupid questions when somebody is like black, yeah. But still, you know, they have to be, in order for us to be able to accept them, these different groups from my group, then, you know, they have to be totally perfect. And the moment they make a mistake, and the meditation is, or the reflection is, to see our conditioning. Because when we start to see it, then it can heal and we can transform it. Only then. Okay? Any more comments or reflections?
I please want to say that what makes...
Who is it? Michal, okay.
For me, if my son or daughter will come with no matter ethnical, religious group, no matter. But it comes really matter if it is a murderer, if it is a raper.
Okay.
I can't agree.
Okay. Now I give you an example. Here in the group in Bern, I got a phone call from the prison. They asked me, they have somebody who is interested in Buddhism, if it would be okay for the person to come. The person has been in prison for 26 years. Okay? So that means a long time. So that means a big negative act. So I said, yeah, of course, you know, if he's interested, let him come. And I tell you, it's a lovely person. And then he wanted us to know that he's been in prison. He didn't say what he did. And people started to be interested. Me also, I wanted to know what he did. But then I thought, come on, why do you want to know what he did? You got to know him. He's a lovely person. It's like he seems to have a very good heart. So if I know what he's done 26 years ago, I put it on him. So I said, nobody's allowed to ask anything what he's done, and I don't want to know. We take him as he is at the moment. Yeah. So if somebody murders somebody once, do you mean that they always that they will then continue to murder? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but for me, taking one person's life is enough.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
About
Okay.
France yesterday, and I think it is horrible, and I don't want this person come to my house.
Yeah, this is it. You know, you don't have to. This is about opening our hearts so that we see the suffering of the murderer, not just the victim. This is what bodhicitta is all about. But this is when you want to develop bodhicitta, then you start to think in this way, right? If you don't want to do this, that's fine. I'm not forcing anybody, right? But this murderer is, why do people become murderers? Because of certain causes and conditions. Yeah, it's like again. So maybe Michal, so then you have a good reason to say no, the murderer, no. But maybe look, when you say it doesn't matter what religion and this and that, try to see if that's really true. Try to see if you're really not conditioned in terms of just other groups, if it's not murderers and people like that, We think we're not, this is what I'm saying, we think we're not racist, we think we're not biased, but you are. I mean, if I make an anti-Semitic joke, how would you feel?
That I can understand.
Oh.
Murdering, I cannot.
Can I say something about it?
Yes, Leora, please go ahead.
About another aspect of a murder. Many years ago, I dreamt that I killed somebody. This was very horrible, but from that time on, I realized that if I dreamed about it, it means that I could have done it, and I could do it anytime. I'm sure, as everybody says, I'm in the one who practices Buddhism, that we've murdered at least once in our past life. So it gave me, also Thich Nhat Hanh said that we have everything in us, the possibility to love, the possibility to kill, everything. So saying that I could have done it today, that I am not killing a mosquito, it gives another proportion for people killing.
Yeah, that we ourselves, we could get into a situation where if we have the possibility to kill because we're so enraged or so crazy, or I don't know, we would kill somebody. I tell you, I almost killed somebody at one point, not because I wanted to kill him, but because he was getting on my nerves. I used to have a restaurant, and it was the day I stopped drinking, and I was really totally out of it. And I was in the kitchen and I was cooking, and the restaurant was totally full. I didn't have enough people to help and to work. And somebody came into the kitchen to ask me what the local football club, what they had done. I knew the answer, but I was so under stress. And so, the lacking of the alcohol, the stress of the work, not enough people. And here he comes with this absolutely not important question. I didn't answer. So he asked again. And what I did, I was totally out of it. I was not a Buddhist or anything, yeah? So I was totally out of it. What I did, I had a knife in my hands. And when you work in restaurant kitchens, you throw the knives against the wall and then they stick, okay? So like in the circus, so you're quite good at it. So this is the knife, okay? So he was kind of in the door and he was asking the second time. And I went like this with the knife towards him. And I didn't let go of the knife, and he closed the door. But when I did the Vajrasattva retreat, this scene came back because I'd totally forgotten, because nothing has happened. But when I did the 3 months purification retreat, this whole thing, this gesture came back into my mind, and I thought, I could have let go of the knife, and it would have hit his head. Maybe it wouldn't have killed him, but I was good at it, and it would have hit his head if he wouldn't have closed the door, and I would have let go of the knife. It can go so quickly. Now, I'm not excusing murder, okay? It's a horrible act, but I can see why people do it. And as Leora said, if you believe in past lives, then, we have also done these things. And if you believe in law of cause and effect, but this is the Buddhist view. So Michal, you don't have to accept it, okay? This is the beauty about Buddhism. We give you these views and these methods. Then if you feel that they feel comfortable and they fit, then you use them. If you feel, no, this I'm not going to do, it's perfectly okay. And we can still remain friends. This is fine, you know? I'm not here to change your views. I'm not here to change your views. I'm just here to explain what Buddhism would say. That's all. Then we have to live to us.
I would like to ask
Just a sec. Then we have the freedom to either accept it or not accept it. This is what the Buddha was encouraging us. If whatever I'm saying, take it, look at it, either, you know, try it out. If it works, it's fine. If it doesn't work, then drop it. Yes, Michal.
Something happened to me in this reflection that I dedicated the work to my relationship with my mom. And when you gave the instruction or the note, you noted that to find out what common things that I can see in us. My body started shivering very strongly. I just couldn't help it. And then I remembered that you told us first to take care of our body, and I just ended the section by breathing.
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. And then, you know, when you feel like it, you go back to that again. Yeah. Because me also, I had a very difficult relationship with my mom. And it's thanks to these methods that I was able to smooth it out before she died. And she didn't change, but I felt much better. And so also at one point, because my mom is somebody who doesn't care about others, who is totally self-concerned. I think these days she might be maybe, you know, diagnosed as a mild Asperger's syndrome or something like that. But for a child, it's very difficult. So she didn't harm us, but she was not interested in us. So, and I hated her. I really did. I was happy when she was somewhere else and I didn't have to have contact with her. So then with all this, you know, when I heard about the kindness of the mother, that she has given me this body, I didn't like to hear that really. And that she has been caring for me and all this, you know, I was sitting in that meditation and I was thinking, shit, this is true, you know, and I refused to accept it for quite a number of years. But because I'm a nun, I go to these teachings again and again and again. I hear it again and again. I had to teach it again and again and again. All of a sudden, it sank in. And it sank in when I was not even thinking about it, but I think I was doing a retreat. And all of a sudden, I saw the suffering of my mother. And I started sobbing like mad. And then I was able to accept her the way she is. But of course, now, Michal, you know, if my mom would be murdered, then I would keep away from her. But still keep the heart open. This is the thing. Yeah. If you have a difficult relationship with your mom, I mean, it is worthwhile to work with it, because not so much for your mom, but for your own sake. Because whether we like it or not, they have given us this body. So, you know, and they have kept us alive. My mom, she did feed me when I was a baby. Otherwise, I wouldn't be alive. So like this. Okay. So maybe just to finish it, I read you the thing from Desmond Tutu, and then we take the break, 2 hours break almost. And then, you know, again about bias, where we think we are not biased. It's about this, you know, because maybe most of you took very strong objects. Maybe it's too strong. Yeah. You know, people where we think, oh, no, I don't judge them and like this. Yeah. But because, of course, as I said, you're Israeli, so you like challenge. So then you always jump to the highest, and then like this. So,
Anila.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Shachar.
Shachar, yeah.
Yes. Just one thing. I heard you a few times when you speak about your mother. You say self-interest and Asperger, as if Asperger's are more self-interested in other people. And as I'm working, and I know a few, it is the opposite.
Oh, thank you. That's good that you correct.
And two things. First, because autistic people and Asperger's today in the new DSM, they're as if they're not the same syndrome. Because their feelings are not very well controlled,
okay,
the reaction are not very much accepted by the normal people.
Oh, okay. Then
they
it's
are used to
that,
suppress their expression or the feelings.
Yeah.
And because sometimes they're not very good in the suppression of the expression of the feelings, we do not accept them. But more important is that when we say the autistic people or Asperger people or other disabled are not very good in empathy or sympathy like others, we do some kind of dehumanization of them. They're not accepted in groups like our group because we are dealing with their feelings and emotions so much. So it was very much important. It was very important for me to stress this out. That we are accepting, and they do have feelings, emotions. They care about others sometimes more than we can even know.
Okay, thank you very much, Shachar. I'm happy that you corrected me. So how would you call somebody like this who has children but just is not interested in them? Because for me it was helpful. You see, for me it was helpful to kind of think, okay, there's a psychological problem, so that's the way she is. For me, then it was easier to accept somehow like that. So how would you,
I'm not a psychologist. I just know that autistic people and Asperger's, as you use the word Asperger, was by himself was a psychologist who worked with autistic people. They do have feelings, they do have emotions, they have great empathy to others. The way they express their feelings and the way they use the language is different the way we express and use it.
Okay.
So we say, oh, they're strange, but it's not that they don't care. Okay,
so
now I don't know about your mother, and I'm not a psychologist. It just
no, but it wouldn't fit my mother if it's like this at all.
Oh, believe me, they sometimes have so much empathy to animals that they cannot take life. They cannot take life. They will suffer. They will never harm a being. It's incredible.
My mom, when her brother died, she said, "Huh, I wonder what's wrong with me. I don't feel anything. I think my heart is made out of stone." That's what she said.
Yeah, so it's not. I mean, if you will sit with autistic, especially children, because they're not very good in suppressing their reaction.
Okay. Yeah.
So you see how the feeling works so well. It's just the reaction is different. So I better suppress my reactions, otherwise people will not be able to stand me.
Okay, thank you, Shachar. So I stopped using that. Thank you very much. Great. And if I say anything else that I just blurt it out like this and you think it's wrong, just like Shachar, don't be afraid. Just tell me, because I'm happy if you tell me that I'm saying something that is not according to reality. Okay, so now I will read that one from Desmond Tutu and then we go into the break. So he says, I went to Nigeria when I was working for the World Council of Churches and I was due to fly to Jos. And so I go to Lagos airport and I get onto the plane and the two pilots in the cockpit are both black. And I just grew inches. It was fantastic because we had been told that blacks can't do this. And we have a smooth takeoff and then we hit the mother and father of turbulence. I mean, it was quite awful. It was very scary. Do you know? I can't believe it. But the first thought that came to my mind was, oi, hey, is there no white man in that cockpit? Are those blacks going to be able to make it? And of course, they obviously made it because here I am. But the thing is, I had not known that I was damaged to the extent of thinking that somehow actually what those white people who had kept drumming into us in South Africa about our being inferior, about our being incapable, it had lodged somewhere in me. And then when we see it, then we can heal it. And then we can start with equanimity, because otherwise we will fail. Okay? So, and mindfulness and awareness is the tool to do that. Okay, so thank you very much. And it's lunch break. So we have lunch until 2 o'clock your side and 1 o'clock my side. And I see you then. And then we'll try to figure out reality. We'll try. Yeah, I don't have a plan yet, as always. And we see how it goes. Anyway, you know, you have Geshe Kelsen one more coming up, who is having wonderful texts about emptiness and all this. So better you rely on her than on me, but I'll try. And we can start discussion, and then it becomes really complicated, I can tell you. What was the book on the evolution of mental capacity? It's in that book, Radical Compassion. I got it out of that book. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anila.
Enjoy your lunch, and again, before you eat it, you know. Okay, maybe, Michal, I'm going to be a bit devil's advocate here, you know. Now, sometimes prisoners, they have to go and work in the field, okay? So one of these prisoners could be a murderer, and you are eating those vegetables. Would you eat them or would you not eat them? Yeah, it's a very confronting thing. This is, if you don't know me, I guess, because I'm usually kind of a little bit going like this. So that's what I mean, you know. Then we have to look, okay, if he is the only one who could save my life, would I take his hand? Yes or no? Good question.
Good question.
Good question, yeah. You know, you're falling off a cliff. There's only a murderer there. Would you take his hand? Yes or no? The hand that he's tending you. Don't know. Okay, so please enjoy your lunch, and, you know, with some gratitude for all the people who work to get your vegetables onto your plate, and your carbohydrates and your tofu and all these other things, and enjoy. Say
May I?
And enjoy. Yes, please, Edward.
Yes, may I suggest one thing? In the Japanese tradition, people, before they start a meal, they go and they say, "Itadakimasu." Itadakimasu means I humbly receive. And while doing that, you think of all the chain from the start where the food is grown until it comes to your dish. Yeah. And it takes a fraction of a second, and you have all that in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So the Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you know, he thinks about, he dedicates to all the people that have been creating the food. And so sometimes in the aeroplane, you know, then he's offering and offering to all the Buddhas, to all the Bodhisattvas on behalf of all these beings, and he's offering and offering. And after an hour or two, you know, the flight attendant comes and says, "Oh, really, I'm sorry, you know, I have to take the food away from you because we're landing." And then his attendant says, "Oh, no, please, he hasn't even touched it yet." And Rinpoche says, "Oh, but it's okay, I already offered it." You know, so for him, he has food to offer it to the Buddhas. We have it to eat. So this is a big difference. But thank you very much, Edward. Yeah, it's, how can you say again?
Itadakimasu.
Itadakimasu. Thank you very much. And so please enjoy your food. Yeah. And see you again. Bye.
ביי ביי לכולם.